evening breeze at Juniper Ridge station had a way of whispering through the timber posts like it carried old secrets. Stories from travelers who passed through but never stayed long enough to become part of the town's memory. But for one young woman sitting alone on a splintered bench, this breeze felt colder, sharper, almost personal. Elena Rivera sat with her shoulders curving inward, as if she hoped becoming smaller might soften the ache beating inside her chest. Her suitcase, more patches than fabric, rested beside her boots. Her hands clutched a letter, its corners bent, its ink smudged from fingers that kept holding on, even when the words felt like knives. Not long ago, she had believed this letter would change her life. It had, just not in the way she imagined. She read it again even though she didn't want to, even though each line felt like a reminder of something she'd hoped was finally behind her. Miss Rivera, after careful reconsideration, I have decided our agreement would not be suitable. Your arrival need not proceed further. A return ticket has been arranged. That was it. No apology, no reason. No chance for her to ask why he changed his mind. The man who'd written it, Thomas Hale, a rancher she'd never met, had sounded kind in his earlier letters. He'd written about long walks along riverbeds, quiet evenings by lantern light, and the hope of giving his two boys a mother again. He said he wanted a partner, a friend, a gentle presence in a house that had been filled with grief since his wife died. He promised stability, a room of her own, a garden she could fill with herbs and flowers, a place to belong. So Elena left Pittsburgh, left the small room she rented above a bakery, left the factory job that paid her little but drained her spirit entirely. She sold whatever she owned that still had value, packed the rest into one old suitcase, and she traveled, train after train, mile after mile, all to reach a man who never planned to meet her at all. She swallowed hard, her throat burned, her chest tightened in that familiar way. Grief sneaks in slow at first, then heavy all at once. The bench creaked when she shifted. The sun melted behind the mountains, spilling orange and pink across the sky like someone had brushed watercolor across the horizon. It should have been beautiful, and maybe it was, but not to her, not right now. A few people waited on the platform with her, a couple of ranch hands heading home, a traveling salesman arguing with himself over the cost of shipping crates. Two school-aged boys kicking a can back and forth, but none of them looked at her. None saw the woman falling apart quietly on a bench. She wiped her face with the back of her sleeve. Then, soft footsteps, tiny, uneven, almost hesitant. Elena didn't look up until she heard a small voice. "Are you lost?" She blinked. Sitting a few feet away was a girl no more than 6. Her boots were dusty. Her dress faded but neatly repaired with mismatched thread. Her blonde hair hung in 2 crooked braids that swung gently when she tilted her head. She hugged a stuffed rabbit so tightly that one of its ears flopped lower than the other. The child studied her closely, not rudely, just openly. Children didn't hide their curiosity the way adults did. "No, sweetheart," Elena said softly. "I'm not lost, just waiting. For someone? No, for a train." The girl nodded like she understood something far larger than her age should allow. "My name's Hattie," she said, "and this is Mr. Pickles." She lifted the rabbit. "He's shy." Elena bit down on a tiny smile. "Well, Mr. Pickles looks very brave." Hattie moved closer on the bench, her little boots scraping the wood. "You look like you needed someone to sit with." Elena took a slow breath. "That's very kind of you." Hattie shrugged. "Mama used to say kindness is free, so you can't ever run out." The words struck something inside Elena, a quiet ache. Hattie hugged her rabbit. "Why are your eyes red?" Elena hesitated. She wasn't sure how to explain something so adult disappointment, heartbreak, humiliation to a child with crooked braids and a stuffed rabbit. But Hattie waited patiently, no judgment, just a soft, steady curiosity. "I came here hoping to start a new life," Elena said, "but the person I was supposed to meet decided he didn't want me after all." Hattie frowned deeply. "That sounds like something my cousin Eddie would do. He promises he'll share candy, but then he eats it all first." Elena huffed a quiet laugh. "It's a bit more serious than candy." "Well, it was still me." Hattie's tiny hands balled into fists. "My daddy says if you say you'll do something, you do it, or else it makes your heart noisy." "Noisy?" "Yeah." She tapped her chest. "Mama used to tell Daddy, 'Your heart's noisy tonight,' when he worried too much." Elena's breath caught. The girl had lost her mother. She could hear it in the way Hattie spoke, soft, reverent, like the word mama lived in a place both sacred and fragile. Before Elena could respond, the station door swung open. A tall man stepped out, broad shoulders, strong jaw, dark hair tucked beneath a worn hat. His shirt sleeves were rolled up, revealing forearms marked with sun and work. He scanned the platform until his gaze landed on Hattie. "There you are," he exhaled with relief. He approached with long strides, boots thudding softly against the wooden boards. "Haughty girl, I asked you to stay where I could see you." "I did, Daddy," she said proudly. "See? I'm right here." The man looked at Elena, offering a polite nod. I hope she hasn't been any trouble. No trouble at all, Elena said. She's been wonderful company. Elena Rivera, she added, offering her hand. He shook it gently, his grip firm but warm. Samuel Lewis, the name suited him, steady, solid. Then his eyes flicked to Elena's suitcase, the letter in her hand. The quiet sadness she couldn't hide anymore. Hattie tugged his sleeve, whispering far too loudly, Daddy, somebody hurt Miss Elena's feelings. Sam shot her a gentle look. Addie, it's true, she insisted. Sam turned back to Elena. I'm sorry if someone did. Folks can be cruel sometimes. Elena looked at her feet. It's nothing new. But something in Sam's tone, calm, respectful, steady, made her feel safe enough to answer honestly. I traveled here to meet a man, a rancher. He asked me to come so we could start a life together. She lifted the letter. When I arrived this morning, I found out he changed his mind before I ever got here. Sam's jaw tightened. That's low, he muttered. No decent man would string someone along like that. Elena swallowed hard. I'm supposed to take a train back east tomorrow, but I don't have money for lodging tonight. She forced herself to stand straighter. I'm not asking for charity. If there's work I can do somewhere in town, cooking, sewing, cleaning, I just need enough to get through the night. Sam looked at her carefully, not judging, just observing. Seeing the desperation she tried to hide, the exhaustion, the quiet dignity. Finally, he spoke. I could use an extra pair of hands around the ranch. Chores, bookkeeping, that sort of thing. He glanced at Hattie. We do have a spare room. Hattie gasped. Daddy, she can stay with us. Please, Hattie, he warned gently. That's not our decision alone. But he didn't say no. Elena clasped her hands together. I'd pay my way, I promise. I don't want to be a burden. You wouldn't be, Sam said. He scratched his jaw. If you're willing to work for the night, the offer stands. Elena exhaled. Relief, fear, hope, all tangled together. Thank you, she whispered. Hattie slipped her hand into Elena's as if they'd known each other far longer than 10 minutes. As they headed toward Sam's worn wagon, Hattie tugged on her sleeve. Miss Elena? She whispered. Yes, sometimes when I ask God for things, he doesn't answer right away. She looked down at her scuffed boots. But I've been asking for someone who could help me not feel so alone. She glanced up with big, earnest eyes. Do you think maybe God sent you because he heard me? Elena felt her throat tighten. I don't know, sweetheart, she whispered, but maybe we both needed something tonight. Hattie nodded like she already knew that. The wagon creaked as they climbed in. Sam flicked the reins, and the horses started forward, pulling them away from the dimming station lights. Elena watched the platform fade behind them, a place where her life had fallen apart just hours earlier, a place she now realized might also be where something new was quietly beginning. Maybe life wasn't done with her yet. Maybe this broken path was leading somewhere she never expected. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring. But for the first time since she stepped onto that train back in Pittsburgh, she wasn't afraid of tomorrow, not anymore. The Lewis Ranch sat a couple miles outside Juniper Ridge, far enough that the town's noise faded into nothing but wind, crickets, and the steady rhythm of horses resting in their paddocks. When the wagon rolled up the long dirt path, trailing dust behind it like a veil, Elena felt her chest tighten again, not with fear this time, but with something else, a strange mixture of uncertainty and possibility. The ranch wasn't large, but it stretched across a gentle slope surrounded by old cottonwoods and thick grass. A modest house stood at the center, white paint peeling, porch sagging a little on one side, windows glowing with the last flickers of daylight. It wasn't fancy, not like the kind of ranch she imagined when Thomas Hale described his substantial property in those letters he later regretted sending. But this place, this imperfect, weathered house felt warmer, more lived in, more real. Hattie jumped off the wagon before it fully stopped, landing with the confidence of a kid who'd done it 100 times. She scooped up Mr. Pickles, then ran toward the porch. Daddy, can Miss Elena see my room? I cleaned it last week. Sam lifted their bags and shook his head. Hattie, let her breathe. She's had a long day. It's okay, Elena said softly. I don't mind. Hattie beamed. See, Daddy, she likes me, Elena smiled. I do. Inside the house, the air smelled faintly of pine and old flower. The living room was simple. One old sofa, a rocking chair, a small bookshelf filled with mismatched novels, a few children's drawings pinned to the wall. Not museum perfect, just lived in, just human. Sam set her suitcase beside a narrow door. I can put you in the spare room, he said. It's not much, but it's clean. Elena opened the door. The room was small, just a bed with a patchwork quilt, a wooden dresser, a single window overlooking the paddock. The quilt colors were faded, but someone had stitched it with care long ago. It's perfect, she said honestly. Sam nodded once. I'll let you get settled. We eat dinner at 7. Nothing fancy, just stew tonight. Hattie poked her head in. Daddy makes stew that tastes like warm hugs. Mine tastes like burned hugs. Elena laughed. I'm excited to try whichever kind tonight brings. Hattie giggled before running down the hall again. Sam lingered only a moment before stepping back. We'll be in the kitchen when you're ready. The door closed gently. Elena sat on the edge of the bed and let herself breathe. Not a shaky breath full of fear. Not a deep breath full of grief. Just a breath. Normal. Steady. Maybe she hadn't realized how long it had been since breathing felt like that. She unpacked slowly, smoothing her dress with her palms, tucking her comb into the top drawer. She set her shoes beneath the bed and hung her shawl on a nail beside the door. It wasn't home. Not yet. But it felt like a place where someone could rest without being judged, and that alone made it feel safer than anything she'd known in a long time. Warm kitchen sink dinner was simple: vegetable stew, warm biscuits, a pitcher of fresh well water, but the warmth of it wrapped around Elena like a blanket. Hattie told stories between bites, her words tumbling over each other so quickly Elena almost couldn't follow. Daddy says I talk too fast, Hattie said, pausing only long enough to breathe. But I can't help it, there's so much to say, especially when new people come here. We don't get a lot of new people. I don't mind, Elena said. I like hearing you talk. Hattie grinned so big her braid lopsided. Sam didn't talk much during dinner. He listened, nodded, let Hattie fill every silent corner of the room with her bright chatter. But every so often, Elena caught him glancing at her, not in a way that made her uncomfortable. More like he was making sure she was okay, making sure she felt welcome. She wasn't used to that. After dinner, she insisted on washing the dishes. Sam argued half-heartedly before giving up. It's only fair, she said. You fed me tonight. Let me help. Hattie dried the dishes beside her. Daddy always says chores go faster when you sing, she said. Do you sing? A little, Elena admitted. Can you sing now? Elena hesitated. But Hattie looked up at her with such hope that refusing felt impossible. So she hummed a soft tune her grandmother used to sing while folding laundry. Something gentle, almost like a lullaby. Hattie swayed side to side, smiling. When the last dish was put away, Hattie tugged her sleeve. Can you tuck me in tonight? Daddy tucks me in, but he doesn't do the voices right. The voices? For the storybooks. Elena glanced at Sam for permission. He nodded. If you want to, he said. She did. Hattie's room was small but charming: drawings on the walls, a homemade shelf filled with worn books, a cracked lantern on the nightstand. Elena read 2 short stories, doing all the silly voices Hattie asked for. The girl giggled so hard she almost rolled off the bed. Finally, Hattie nestled under the quilt, hugging Mr. Pickles. Miss Elena? Yes, I'm glad you came today. I know it was a bad day for you, but maybe it was supposed to happen like that. Elena brushed a strand of hair from her forehead. Maybe you're right, she whispered. Hattie's eyes fluttered closed. And for the first time in a long while, Elena felt something inside her shift, something small, but warm, hope. Later that night, Elena stepped out onto the porch. The air was cool, the stars scattering the sky like tiny lanterns. Sam leaned on the railing, arms folded. He didn't turn when she came out. He just nodded in acknowledgement. Is Hattie asleep, he asked. Almost. She joined him at the railing. She's a wonderful girl. Sam smiled without showing teeth, just a soft, tired tug of his lips. She's my whole world. The silence between them was comfortable, not heavy, not awkward. After a moment, Sam said quietly, she likes you, more than she's liked anyone since. He didn't finish. He didn't need to. I'm honored, Elena said softly. Sam nodded. Another quiet stretch. Then he cleared his throat. I know today must have been rough. That's one word for it. Sam's jaw tightened. I don't know what kind of man invites someone across the country and then changes his mind after she arrives. Elena stared at the yard. It hurt, she admitted. More than I want to admit. I came hoping for a new life, and it felt like he threw it away like it meant nothing. Your worth isn't decided by a stranger's poor judgment. The way he said it, firm, certain, no hesitation. Elena looked at him. His eyes were soft in the porch light. She swallowed. Thank you. Sam nodded again, gaze steady. You're welcome to stay through the night. Tomorrow, we can talk about what you want to do next. She appreciated that. He didn't assume, didn't push, didn't make promises he couldn't keep. He just offered space and safety. Sometimes, those were the most powerful gifts. The next morning, Elena woke to the smell of coffee and the distant clatter of pans. Sunlight spilled through the curtain like gold dust. She dressed quickly before stepping into the hallway. Hattie stood there waiting, bouncing excitedly. You woke up, Daddy said not to bug you, but I think I'm allowed to be excited. Elena laughed softly. Well, I'm excited too. Sam had already set breakfast eggs, toast, and something that looked like fried potatoes but smelled sweeter. It's good, Sam said, catching her curious look. Hattie calls them crunchy bites. I stopped asking questions. Hattie shoved the forkful into her mouth. They crunch. After breakfast, Sam led her to the barn to show her the chores. You don't need to do everything, he said. Just what you feel comfortable with. I'm grateful to help, she said. He nodded. The barn was warm, filled with the musk of hay and animals. She helped feed the chickens, gather eggs, sweep the floor. Simple work, but grounding. Her mind quieted as she moved. Sam watched her a few times like he was surprised she worked so easily. Most people, he realized, didn't approach chores with grace. Elena did. When they stepped outside, Hattie sprinted across the yard holding a jar filled with water. Daddy, look! I caught a tadpole. Sam blinked. Where did you find a tadpole? We don't have ponds near. She pointed triumphantly. I made one, with the bucket and the hose. Sam stared at her like she was a puzzle he loved but couldn't solve. Elena covered her mouth, suppressing laughter. Hattie's chaos was charming, Sam sighed. I'll deal with the bucket pond. You know, Elena said, she's imaginative. That's a gift. He looked down at his daughter, who was now trying to convince the tadpole to do tricks. Yeah, he murmured, a big one. Around noon, a rider approached the ranch gate, an older man on a bay horse. He tipped his hat at Sam. Got your monthly supply notice, the man said, and a letter. Sam frowned. I'm not expecting. The man handed it over. Came through from town, marked urgent. Sam accepted it, brows furrowed. When the rider left, he turned the letter over twice. Finally, he opened it. Elena saw his jaw clench. Hard. What is it? She asked softly. Sam folded the letter slowly. Too slowly. It's from my late wife's sister, he said. Caroline. Elena swallowed. Oh, she wants to visit. He paused. She was never fond of me taking care of Hattie alone. Thought I couldn't do it right. Hattie ran up holding her tadpole jar. What's wrong? Sam forced a small smile. Nothing, Hattie girl. Elena could see the tension in him. The old hurt, the pressure of being watched, judged, second-guessed. If she's coming, Elena said quietly, you won't face her alone. Sam looked at her, really looked. His eyes softened. Thank you, he said, his voice low, sincere, grateful. A new twist, a new conflict, a new test for all of them. Late afternoon sunlight dipped low across the Lewis Ranch, painting the fields in copper and gold. A calm kind of quiet settled over everything. The sort of quiet that only comes when a whole day's worth of chores has been done and the land finally exhales. But the quiet didn't reach Sam. He stood at the fence, letter in hand, staring out at the pasture but not seeing it. Elena watched him from the porch, wiping her hands on her apron, unsure if she should approach. He looked like a man trying to hold back a storm inside his chest. She waited, gave him a minute, then walked toward him slowly. You look like the world's sitting on your shoulders, she said softly. Sam sighed. A visit from Caroline usually means trouble. Your sister-in-law? He nodded. She's never quite forgiven me for everything. He paused. Losing Sarah, raising Hattie alone, not doing things the way she thought I should. Elena leaned against the fence beside him. She's coming here to judge you? Feels like it. He folded the letter. She says she wants to check on Hattie, says it's her duty since Sarah was her sister. Elena let that sink in. Some people think duty gives them permission to intrude, she said. Sam looked at her for a long moment. I don't want her thinking Hattie's been neglected, or that I brought strangers around her without thinking it through. Elena felt a little sting in her chest. I understand, she whispered. Sam shook his head quickly. No, that's not what I meant. He rubbed the back of his neck. What I meant was, you've been good for her, for both of us. The warmth of that lingered longer than the breeze. Over the next few days, a rhythm formed. Not something grand, just small pieces of life that stitched themselves together into something gentle. Mornings began with Hattie knocking on Elena's door, eager to show her something, a drawing, a new braid, a dream she couldn't wait to share. Breakfast was chaotic in the best way. Hattie spilled things, Sam burned toast. Elena laughed more than she expected to. Chores filled their afternoons. Sam handled the heavier work while Elena cleaned the house from top to bottom. She cleared cobwebs from corners, washed curtains, fixed squeaky hinges, reorganized the pantry. Sam walked into the kitchen one evening and blinked. You can see the shelves, he said. You mean you couldn't before? He looked a little embarrassed. Not really, Elena grinned. Well, now you can. Hattie helped declutter drawers, finding odd treasures, buttons, broken pencils, a rusty horseshoe she insisted was lucky. Keep it, Elena said. Luck can come in strange shapes. Hattie held it up like a trophy. Then we won't ever lose it. Elena noticed small things about Sam as days passed. He never rested, not really. His hands were always busy, fixing something, mending something, lifting something heavy. He rarely sat down unless Hattie begged him to read a story. Even then, he read with his boots still on, ready to jump up if something needed him. There was a guardedness to him, a man who had carried too much for too long. One night, after Hattie went to bed, Elena joined him on the porch again. You don't let yourself stop, she said. Sam exhaled. Stopping makes me think. Thinking makes me remember. Remembering hurts. He looked at his hands, more than swinging a hammer does. Elena rested her elbows on the railing. You're doing your best, Sam. Anyone can see that. Caroline won't. Then Caroline is looking for the wrong things. But his shoulders loosened a little. 2 days before Caroline's arrival, Sam needed to bring produce into town. Elena offered to help load the wagon. But when they got to town, eyes followed them. Small town eyes. Eyes that noticed everything. Eyes that whispered faster than a summer wildfire spread. Sam ignored it. Elena tried to, but she heard the murmurs. Who's she? He brought someone new home already? That was quick. She looks younger than I expected. At the general store, Mrs. Blake leaned over the counter with a smirk. I see you've brought company today, she said, her voice coated with curiosity disguised as innocence. Sam's jaw tightened. Just picking up supplies. Elena offered a polite nod. Good afternoon, Mrs. Blake's smile sharpened. So you're the new woman staying at the Lewis place? Elena froze for a second before answering. I'm helping with chores for a while, nothing more. Oh, Mrs. Blake's tone said she didn't believe that at all. Well, you know how people talk. Sam stepped forward. Then maybe they should talk less. Mrs. Blake raised her eyebrows but didn't push. When they got outside, Sam apologized under his breath. You didn't deserve that. It's a small town, Elena said. People talk when they're bored. Doesn't mean they know anything. He glanced at her. You handled it better than I would have. She shrugged. I've had practice. People talked about you in Pittsburgh. They talked around me. It's worse. Sam frowned. Well, they won't run you off from here. Elena looked at him. Do you want me to stay long enough for them to try? The question hung between them longer than either of them expected. Sam opened his mouth to answer, but Hattie came running out of the store, holding a small bag of candy. Part of Elena wished he'd answered anyway. Back at the ranch, Hattie followed Elena like a shadow. She wanted to sit near her, help her cook, braiding her hair, showing her drawings, holding her hand as they walked to the barn. One afternoon, when Elena was folding laundry, Hattie crawled onto the bed beside her. Miss Elena, yes, sweetheart? Are you gonna leave soon? The question hit with unexpected force. I don't know, Elena said honestly. Your daddy and I haven't talked about that yet. Hattie nodded slowly, her little fingers tracing the quilt. I like when you're here, she whispered. It makes the house feel like when Mama was alive, not the same, just warm again. She touched Hattie's cheek gently. You're a very strong girl, Hattie shook her head. Daddy says strong means you don't cry, but I cry a lot. That's not true, Elena whispered. Strong means you keep going even when you cry. Hattie leaned into her. I don't want you to go, she said. Elena swallowed hard. I don't either, she murmured. Neither said more. But the truth settled quietly between them. The morning Caroline arrived, the sky was cloudless, too clear, the kind of day that felt suspiciously calm. A dusty stagecoach rolled down the path around noon, pulled by 2 tired horses. When it stopped, a woman stepped onto the ground, tall, rigid, impeccably dressed for travel, her hat pinned tight, her posture stiff, her lips thin. Caroline Hale. She looked around the property like she was appraising something she already disliked. Sam walked out to greet her. Caroline. Samuel. Her tone was polite enough, but only in the way ice can be technically water. Hattie burst through the door and ran toward her aunt. Aunt Caroline! The woman softened only a fraction. She hugged Hattie lightly. My sweet girl, she said. I've missed you. But her gaze drifted immediately past the child, landing on Elena, who stood near the porch steps. Caroline's eyebrows raised, her mouth pressed tighter. And who, she asked slowly, is this? Sam took a breath. This is Elena Rivera. She's been helping us around the ranch. Caroline's eyes narrowed. Pleasure to meet you, Mrs. Hale. Caroline didn't take her hand. Instead, she asked, and how long have you been assisting my brother-in-law? Only a short while, Elena said, keeping her voice gentle. And your purpose here? Work, nothing more. Caroline's gaze flicked to Sam as if demanding the real answer. Sam held her stare. She's been a blessing to us, Caroline. Caroline's lips flattened like she didn't appreciate that. I see, but she didn't see, not even close. Dinner that night was quiet, too quiet. Caroline watched everything, how Elena poured water, how Hattie leaned close to her, how Sam looked more relaxed with Elena around. Caroline barely ate, she simply examined, judged, filed things away in her mind. Finally, she spoke. I wasn't aware you were hiring help. Sam kept his tone even. It wasn't planned. She needed a place. We needed assistance. It worked for everyone. Caroline raised a brow. And this arrangement is temporary, I assume. Elena felt her stomach twist. Sam stiffened. We haven't discussed that yet, he said. Caroline's eyes sharpened. Hattie is impressionable, Samuel. She lost her mother young. She needs stability, not strange women passing through. Hattie looked up, confused. What's wrong with Miss Elena? Caroline forced a soft smile. Nothing, dear. I simply want what's best for you. Hattie frowned. But Miss Elena is best. The room went silent. Elena reached over and squeezed Hattie's hand. It's okay, sweetheart, she whispered. It's just grown-up talk. Caroline's jaw clenched. I'd like to speak privately with you, Samuel, she said. Sam didn't look away from his daughter. Then he looked at Elena, and the hesitation in his eyes told her everything she feared. Caroline wasn't here to check on them. She was here to decide whether Elena belonged, or whether she needed to go. Caroline's request for a private conversation hung over the house like a dark cloud. The moment dinner ended, she rose from the table with stiff shoulders, lips pressed into a thin line, and a look that said she wasn't done breaking something. Samuel, she said, now. Sam didn't want to go. Anyone could see that. But he nodded and followed her to the front room, leaving Elena and Hattie alone at the table. Hattie leaned toward her, whispering dramatically, Aunt Caroline always looks like she tasted something sour. Elena stifled a laugh. Be kind, she whispered back. She's family. Hattie scrunched her nose. So? Elena touched her cheek gently. You're a good girl. Don't let frustration change your heart. Hattie sighed. Fine, but I still think she eats lemons for fun. Elena smiled, but her heart was uneasy. She could hear their muffled voices from the next room. Caroline's sharp tone, Sam's deep, controlled responses. Hattie set her fork down. Miss Elena? Yes, sweetheart, you're not gonna leave just because Aunt Caroline acts like a grumpy goat, right? Elena hesitated. She didn't want to lie. She didn't want to scare the child either. I don't know yet, she said softly, but I promise you, whatever happens, it won't be because I don't care about you. Hattie hugged her fiercely. I don't want to lose you. Elena held her close, wishing she had answers. But right now, all she had was the sound of raised voices behind the closed front room door. When Sam returned, his jaw was tight, and his shoulders held tension like rope pulled too tight. Caroline followed behind him, her chin lifted high, her expression smug with righteousness. We finished our discussion, she announced, smoothing her dress as if preparing for a speech. I believe my concerns are valid. Elena stood, steadying herself. Caroline addressed her directly. Miss Rivera, I'm sure you mean well, but I don't find your presence appropriate. Her voice dripped with cold civility. Hattie has already grown attached to you, far too quickly. Children who lose mothers cling to anyone who shows them affection. It isn't healthy. Elena felt Hattie slip her small hand into hers, holding tight. Caroline continued, you came here under a mail order arrangement with another man, one who rejected you, and now you settled yourself in my sister's home as if it were your own. Sam stepped forward, anger flashing in his eyes. That's enough, Caroline. She raised one eyebrow, unbothered. I tell the truth. I won't apologize for it. Elena's voice was calm, much calmer than she felt. I never claimed this home as mine. I only wanted to work, earn my keep, and leave when the time felt right. Caroline crossed her arms. And the sooner you go, the better. Hattie gasped. No, she stays. She stays with us, Caroline shook her head. You don't understand, dear. Adults must make difficult decisions. She's my family now, Hattie cried, tears filling her eyes. Daddy said families can grow. Caroline pressed her lips tight, clearly judging Sam for that too. Elena knelt beside Hattie, cupping her face. Sweetheart, nothing will take away what we've built here. Not ever, Hattie cried harder. Don't let her take you. Elena hugged her tightly. Tears threatened Elena's eyes too, but she forced them back. Finally, Sam spoke with quiet firmness. Elena isn't going anywhere tonight, and whatever decisions are made won't be forced by anyone but the people living under this roof. Caroline stared him down. You're making a mistake, Samuel. Sam met her gaze with steel. I've made enough mistakes to know the difference. Caroline retired early, clearly disgusted by the lack of obedience to her demands. Sam helped Hattie brush her teeth and tucked her into bed, whispering softly that everything would be okay. Elena waited in the hallway, listening to their quiet voices through the door. When he stepped out, closing the door gently behind him, he paused. Elena, he said quietly, we need to talk. She nodded and followed him to the porch. The sky was dark, glittered with stars resting low and bright. Sam removed his hat, ran a hand through his hair. Elena, I'm sorry for all that. Caroline doesn't see the whole picture. She never has. It's not her fault, Elena said softly. She's grieving in her own way. Sam looked at her, eyes warm but tired. You're kind, kinder than most people would be in your position. She shook her head. I just don't want to cause trouble, for you or for Hattie. He stepped closer, but not too close, just enough that she could feel the sincerity in his presence. You haven't caused trouble. You brought life back into this home. Elena lowered her gaze. Caroline thinks I'm taking advantage of you. I know what she thinks, but I also know what's real. He hesitated, then exhaled. Elena, when I asked you to stay the night, I didn't expect you to change everything. Her breath hitched slightly. I didn't change anything, she whispered. I just helped where I could. You changed more than you realize. Their eyes met, and for a suspended moment, the night felt still. Then Sam stepped back, leaving the moment untouched. You should rest, he said softly. Tomorrow, we'll handle whatever comes. Elena nodded. Good night, Sam. Good night, Elena. Morning came with tension thick as fog. Caroline sat at the table, arms crossed, expression severe. Sam poured coffee with more force than necessary. When Elena entered, Caroline stiffened. I hope you slept well, she said in a voice cold enough to frost glass. Elena offered a polite nod. As well as anyone can with so much to think about. Hattie ran in and hugged Elena's waist tightly. You still here? Elena hugged her back. Of course! Caroline watched disapprovingly. Then she cleared her throat. I've been thinking, she said, as if anyone asked. It might be best if Hattie came with me for a while, just until Samuel gets his life more stabilized. Sam slammed his mug on the table. No! Caroline didn't flinch. I didn't ask for your permission. I'm telling you what's best. You're wrong, Sam growled. Elena felt Hattie trembling against her. Caroline stared at Elena with steely eyes. This is because of you. No, Elena said quietly. This is because you don't trust your brother-in-law. Caroline's stare sharpened. You're manipulating this family with kindness. It's subtle, but it's there. Elena's chest tightened. She'd never been accused of manipulation before. Sam stood abruptly. That's enough. But Caroline continued. Samuel, you may not see it clearly, but I do. You're developing feelings for someone who showed up out of nowhere, someone desperate, someone who needs a place so badly she'll become anything you want. Elena inhaled sharply. That cut deeper than she expected. Sam's fists clenched at his sides. I said that's enough. Caroline rose from her chair. Either she goes, or I pursue custody rights. Hattie gasped. No, Sam's voice thundered. You're not taking my daughter. Caroline lifted her chin defiantly. We'll see. Elena couldn't bear to see this. Hattie crying. Sam at war with his past. Caroline towering like judgment. She stepped forward. All right. Her voice trembled, but her spine stayed straight. If my leaving will protect this family, I'll go. Hattie screamed, No, no, no! Sam shook his head violently. Elena, don't do this. But Elena knelt before Hattie, brushing tears from her cheeks. Sweetheart, I love you, more than you know, but I won't be the reason anyone tries to take you away from your dad. Hattie sobbed into her arms. Sam's eyes glistened with something he fought hard to hide. Caroline looked satisfied. Elena swallowed her pain like broken glass. I'll pack my things, she whispered. She turned toward the hallway. Then, Sam stepped in her path. No. His voice trembled, but it was solid, resolute. No, he repeated. You're not leaving. Caroline scoffed. Samuel? Sam pointed at her sharply. You don't get to come into my home, insult the woman who saved this family, and threaten to take my daughter. Caroline stepped back, stunned. Sam turned to Elena. You're not going anywhere, he said. Not unless you want to. Elena's lips parted, heart pounding. He looked at her the way a man looks when he's tired of running from truth. I want you here, he said, not for chores. Not out of pity, not because I'm lonely, his voice softened, but because I care about you, deeply, and Hattie loves you, and this house feels like home again because of you. Elena's breath caught. Caroline sputtered. You cannot be serious. Sam didn't even look at her. Elena, he whispered, will you stay? Hattie clung to Elena's dress, nodding fiercely through tears, Please, she begged, please don't go. Elena looked at them. This broken, beautiful pair who had given her more hope than she'd felt in years. Her heart answered before her voice did. Yes, she whispered, I'll stay. Hattie screamed with joy, hugging her so tight Elena almost lost her balance. Sam exhaled shakily, relief flooding his face. Caroline stared in disbelief. This is madness, she spat. You'll regret it. Sam shook his head. I regret nothing. Caroline packed her things with stiff, angry movements. She refused to look anyone in the eye. Not Sam, not Hattie, not Elena. When she reached the wagon, she paused just long enough to say, You're making a mistake. Sam tightened his jaw. Goodbye, Caroline. She climbed in and rode off without another word. When the dust settled, Sam shut the gate behind her. Then he turned toward the house with a long breath. Not sad, not angry, just free. That evening, after Hattie fell asleep in Elena's lap on the porch swing, Sam stepped outside, wiping sawdust from his hands. He paused at the sight. His daughter sleeping peacefully, clutching Elena like she'd been hers from the start. The porch light glowed against Elena's face. Her eyes were soft, her breath steady. Sam stepped closer. Elena, he whispered, I meant every word I said today. She looked up. I know. And I want to say something else, something I didn't expect to feel again. She swallowed. Sam sat beside her, careful not to wake Hattie. Not reckless, just steady, like it's been waiting a long time to happen. Elena felt warmth spread through her chest. I'm falling too, she whispered, even though I tried not to. Sam smiled softly. Then maybe we can start something real, slow, honest. Elena nodded. I'd like that very much. Sam reached out and gently took her free hand. They sat together under the stars, Hattie curled between them, the ranch quiet around them. A family forming in the simplest, strongest way, not by blood, not by obligation, but by choice, by love, by the quiet recognition that sometimes life breaks your heart only to rebuild it into something stronger, something truer, something worth fighting for. And in that peaceful night, on a porch warmed by lantern light and whispered promises, Elena finally understood something she never believed before. If this story touched your heart, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us continue telling stories that remind the world that compassion still matters.